To our first track of the day, which was requested via the YouTube comments. Deep Blue Ultrakill 5-1 theme by Heaven Pierce Her / Hakita. Let's check it out and let us analyze it as we go. So let me just make sure we're in 0-0. Let's go. We're 5 seconds in. One, I am not apologizing for pausing that. We're going to be doing a lot of that. This is the area that you're underwater, as you can see in here. Being able to convey that you're underwater is pretty difficult in music. Usually people try to drown out other sounds, and in this case, Hakita is using these synths phasing over and over, probably to try and replicate the feeling, the sensation of the ripples, of the rippling of water, stuff like that. You never apologize, nor should you. Yeah, no, I'm not apologizing, but I am warning. So, Baldwin, welcome to today. The version without the sax. This is the original. This is the original. This part isn't underwater. Deep Blue, Ultrakill 5-1. Isn't it 5-1 underwater? Either way, we have a very slow start. Never apologize, it's a sign of weakness. It's not. Apologizing can be a sign of strength, but whatever. So we have a very slow start. We're establishing the harmony. The draw of this part is the cave. Right, so it's the emptiness. That makes more sense. So in this case, we're in a cave before we drop underwater. It's a fairly, caves are fairly empty places. They're fairly hollow, and there's going to be echo. And instead of going for delay or reverb, Hakita, Heaven Pierce Her, has gone with the approach of just having this weird phasing in the synth while establishing establishing the chords that you're using. Chords, of course, establish harmony. The harmony is just the context in music of which chords you're going to be using. It's very flexible, very something you can change over and over, but it sets the expected parameters to your ears. So, how does the stream work? You request tracks from video game music, and we analyze them live. How you doing, Blitz? Welcome to today. So yeah, we've gone through the chords, and we have a complete change over here. We go from this hollow, there's barely anything, chord progression. The chords are still the same. But now we take away the effect, that phasing that the chords had, and we introduce piano and drums. Let me hear it again. With synth still. Okay, I can tell what's going on here. There was that one level in Mario 64 that happens underwater with arpeggiation, with a very specific arpeggiation, and Heaven Pierce Her is replicating something very similar, very, very similar. I would call it a tribute to an underwater, paying tribute to underwater soundtracks, because Mario, Zelda, these were some of the earlier games to do underwater levels. Even though it's not entirely the same thing, and by this point you're not entirely underwater, but it is what we could call it foreshadowing in a way. This is still fairly slow, which is kind of unusual for the Ultrakill game, considering how fast-paced this game really is. Which there is a concept in film that also applies to video games called dramatic irony. There are several ways of doing the music in the background. Usually it's going to be either underscoring or dramatic irony. Underscoring means that the music that you are playing in the background matches the scene that is happening. So, you're you are hearing like blasting horns, glorious rhythms, and everything. And the scene is about the hussars charging the Ottoman line, something like that. And in this case, this is very slow. This is very, very slow. It's probably going to speed up a little bit more, but it's very slow for a very fast-paced game, which would otherwise create a whiplash, a tonal whiplash, but it works really, really, really well. The most famous scene, of course, of dramatic irony in the history of film is The Lord of the Rings. I think it was The Return of the King, when, I can't remember if it was Merry or Pippin, one of the two starts singing for the king while there's a suicide charge going at the fortress, not the fortress, it's the city that the orcs take. So there's Merry singing this super sad song, and it's only him. There's no other instruments, very lonely, very hopeless, while these guys are doing this heroic last final charge. That is dramatic irony, when the music doesn't fit what is happening on the screen in such a way that it only accentuates it even more. So, game automatically muffles the music in the water for extra effect then. So, let's continue hearing. I can hear that extra bass. Drowned out. And if so the piano is speeding up. So we're building up on the same, we're kind of looping over and over again everything. We're still staying in one chord progression, which is very unusual for Heaven Piercer, for Ultrakill, to stay in the same chord progression. Usually these songs from Ultrakill are very fast-paced, very almost whiplash-inducing with how fast-paced the gameplay can be. And in this case, it's extremely slow. It's extremely slow. The piano went from kind of arpeggiating slowly to arpeggiating a little bit faster, but everything else in the background is so slow. The melody itself, so in other than the arpeggiation that is happening, the melody that was on a very hidden bass was only playing one note for almost the entire chord progression, and now it's doubled up in the higher synth. So let's hear it. Okay. So, there we go. And now we get the traditional. Now we get the traditional stuff. Very unusual to have an intro this long at 1 minute, 1.5 minutes in a 5-minute piece. But it creates that sense of movement. That happens. Do live performances involved? You can request live performance. Like if it's something like I know that Genshin does a lot of live performances for their soundtrack. So as long as it's video game soundtrack, yes, absolutely. Okay. So we introduce. Okay, so I'm picking up a couple of things. One, we have introduced the stronger electronic drum and bass kind of drums. Glitchy drums, very, very emblematic of Ultrakill, happens a lot. But most importantly, the piano is doing everything on the lower octave now. We started with the piano playing higher notes, and now they're playing lower notes. We have dived in. We have dived in to the meat and potatoes here. Very subtle. I tell you, like, having Piercer Hakita knows their craft. Knows the craft. This is really good. The piano has slowed down as well. But the chord progression is almost the same, giving that sense of stability. You just ate? Nice. So now we have another synth, which is a very peculiar, it's a very peculiar choice for this synth. I mean, we do have the fact that Heaven Piercer for Ultrakill uses a lot of retro elements. This one is a MIDI, almost like a voice. So Blitz, go eat, do not go. I mean, unless you're doing intermittent or, you know, the 16 hours, like I eat dinner very early. But unless you do that, eat. Eat. So, the MIDI over here that is being used now, we have what I think it's a vocal MIDI, but like a super basic vocal MIDI to the point that it doesn't sound like a human voice, but it sounds like a synth. And it is now doing a very slow arpeggiation of the chords that we've been hearing for the entire time. So something that was in the background is pushed a little bit further into the foreground. So my record is 54 hours without food, intentionally, and that's the worst part. Anyway, so now, yeah, the piano with this vocal MIDI is pushed to the front, and that is our motif right now, pretty much. Okay, so we've reached theme number 2 after well over 2 minutes. We are finally doing something completely contrasting. Man, it's incredible how much you can do while exploring the same thing. Because what Hakita has done here, what Heaven Piercer has done here, is explore what is called a motif. A motif is the essential musical idea. It's the bare bones compressed version, but this time it was a chord progression, because that was the first idea introduced in this thing, and it has all been just exploring the chord progression rather than a melody. Very, again, another fairly unusual way of approaching music that Hakita knows how to make work. So continue. So now we go even deeper into the piano, by the way. We're going further deep into the piano. We got rid of some of the synths. And I think this is the drum, but now we're underwater. Okay, we bring another melody. Modulation. Which, melody and modulation, we got a new melody, we got a new modulation. Modulation, of course, is when you go from one key, one set of chords, to another set of chords. And it's fairly easy to do, but Hakita's doing this in a very dramatic way, very much accentuating what is happening with this new melody, the new higher end of things. I like how he's doing this. I like how he's doing this. We have now the piano really going low, accentuating how we're diving deeper and deeper and deeper in, while the synths now went from being the background to the air above. Went from being the air around us to the air above, just like with water. Fairly simple melody, but really good. And we bring back the original theme with the drums, re-exploring the same idea, but it's, yeah, really good. Now with that extra modulation chord going in there. Not really modulating, more like a borrowed chord. And now we're adding more things in the upper end. Interesting. So yeah, we're revisiting that theme from before, with more drums, of course. Now we have the like glitchy drum and bass drums. The synth that was playing that bass is gone in favor of the piano and this very subtle synth doing the arpeggiation. And what we're doing is a very interesting type of call and response, because the piano is playing the lower part, almost like there is a surface that the piano can't go to, and then the synth plays the other part above the surface. So there's a certain point in which the piano's notes are not going to go above right now. This is by choice because, you know, it's within the range of the piano. And the rest is taken over by this synth. Really cool. Really cool. Deliberate choice. And it goes to show how much Hakita knows. Because, you know, now we're too deep with the piano. We can't really go that far up. There you go, we got that good old drop. Yep, we got the chord progression again. Going all sort of stuff. For the boom, bro. Lovely. And we go back to this MIDI. But now with everything, I like doing this as well in my compositions, where you take everything that you've been doing and you mush it all together. You risk making it into an incoherent mess, unless you know what you're doing, in which case, Hakita knows. So you can get all the aspects of everything you're doing, mix them together, and, you know, almost like taking turns with each theme that you're doing. Megumi, welcome to today. How you doing? Good to see ya. Great. Good. So yeah, we have that arpeggiation, and now we pull everything back. We change the instrument, so now we have the piano at the very bottom, and now we brought in a guitar. With the synths acting more as background. And we bring it back. Huh. Drowned, but not really. Made it out just in time. I can't get over how Hakita is actually using these, like, we're talking the MIDI I mentioned for the human vocals. It's like, I used this software, like, this is the type you get with Guitar Pro 5, like, you know, the 2009 software. It's extremely basic MIDI. Extremely basic MIDI. It's like a super badly emulated sound of a human voice. And Hakita's making it work so well. I don't know, something about vibe that Hakita just really gets. And using these retro elements, still sounding modern enough, while keeping these retro elements. I'm always impressed by this. So yeah, we go back to the original chord progression with some of the new added elements. Revisit. We fade away. And back to where we started. And it fades out, and it finishes fading away with just that drum there. It's a video game soundtrack, so this is something that you could immediately just loop back. You could loop back at certain points. There are certain other points that you could probably loop back. Maybe not at the start, but in general, you could probably loop these back. Really, really good stuff. I mean, it's Hakita. It's Heaven Pierce Her, which is just... The amount of craftsmanship that goes into these soundtracks is insane. You can really tell, and that's what I've said, right? Like I can tell Hakita plays the fretless bass. One, because I've heard it in some of the soundtracks, but two, just because of how much attention to detail every single note has. Like there are a couple of places here, for example, the human MIDI. I've heard that some of those parts did sound a little bit more or less improvised on the spot, but everything else, but it's still, even with that, it all feels so well put together. It's such an interesting way of making you not feel underwater, but feel like you're jumping in. Because that's kind of what happens in 5.1. You're jumping in, you're diving into it. And this track just makes it so well. So, yes. And yes, Dead End Slayer. Yes, yes. So, MIDI is weird. They used to be the shit. Technology renowned them almost instantly, then went into a retro status all within 10 years. Yeah, because now we use VSTs, virtual soundtracks. So yeah, Deep Blue is one of the mid Ultrakill OSTs. Don't get me wrong, it's still good, but not as good as some of the others. I would say it's a more functional soundtrack. It still has a very, very, very good, very, very well crafted. I can understand because yet again we go another track of Ultrakill without hearing the signature synth that we usually get from Heaven Piercer, from Hakita. So I can understand because it doesn't have those elements. It also doesn't have the changing time signatures. It's a very different track from what Heaven Piercer usually makes. So yes, Ember, welcome to today. How you doing? So yeah, there you go. That was Deep Blue by Heaven Piercer, the Ultrakill 5.1 theme by, of course, Hakita being Heaven Piercer. I am still, so yes, this one is probably one of the simpler tracks that we got from this, but this is still really, really, really good. All right, let's move on.